Welcome to the show, and I am excited to have Tammy Elizabeth Renich,
Yes.
author.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you
nice
very
to,
much.
to see you, and
It's great
we've
to
met
be
before,
here.
but not on camera. So
Right.
thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Now you have a little different kind of journey in your author
I do.
progress or journey, I guess, for lack of a better word. I'm not good with words like you all are. So you have 4 books that have been released.
Yes.
They're Civil War books.
Yes.
Tell us about that, and when were they released?
So they're kind of been out there for a while. They're experiencing their 25th anniversary.
Wow.
So that's a long time ago, but history should not change. And so those books have been able to have some longevity. And that journey that you're talking about, I had everything going until I thought about 2010. Okay, I'm done writing now. The books were done. The first one was released in 1994. That's a long time to 2008. Okay. So I thought, we're done. Oh, except the 150th anniversaries of the Civil War started happening. So I get calls. Can you come to a speaking engagement? We'd like to have you for a book signing. Can you lead a battlefield tour? Can you come talk to our class? We've got a lecture that we need to do. All these things started reviving. And so from 2010 to 2015, we had like this little new life for the books. 2015 comes. By 2018, I'm considered out of print. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done. Until a friend says, you really should write something else. You really should, Okay, so big long gap, and now I started a new project 100 years before in a different time period.
Wow. And that's
Still
all
history.
You can share with us, correct?
It's set after Pontiac's Rebellion, which is at the tail end of the French and Indian War, and leading into the American Revolution.
Okay.
And I'm having to learn all kinds of stuff all over again because I studied the Civil War for 20 some odd years, and now I'm doing everything over because there's a lot that's different, although sometimes human nature, it doesn't change.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You can see that in the Bible.
Yes, exactly.
Lots of examples of what we see today in there.
Yes. Yes.
So I've seen that you love research.
Love the research.
Okay, and so during your research of the Civil War, what did you find most interesting?
So old school research was going to the libraries, going to the museums, appointments with curators.
That's right. There was not the World Wide Web quite as it is today.
You wrote letters, you made your appointments, you went to go see people, see things. Microfilm, remember microfilm? Typing things up. Okay, so now you have Google, DuckDuckGo, find it for me. You send emails to people. You do all kinds of YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. Everything's all different. But once I find it and I can know where it is, then I'll try. If I can get there myself, I'd much rather see it for myself. Mm-hmm. And when you talked about where have you gone or where have you been, when I turned 25, I thought, I'm going to go to all 50 states before I turn 50. I did it 3 years ahead of schedule. But going to find history in each of those places and how much was tying into the Civil War was surprising because you only think about it on the East Coast. Mm-hmm. When I brought my books out to California, it was like, what's going on in California in the Civil War? Well, that's where the research started coming in over and over and over, and it's the farther you dig, the more interesting stuff you find.
Yeah. Well, we were talking before we started recording, and you said you took some classes.
Oh, I took some classes. One was the 18th century surveying for map making, which was incredible. They do it just like George Washington used to do it. Woodworking, 18th century woodworking, turning things on the lathe, just all those kind of things. If you're going to have a character that's a joiner, you need to know how the woodworking used to be in that time period.
Yeah.
So
awesome. I'm always so impressed talking with all of you authors and amazed at the amount of research that you do. And so what is your writing process? I can't remember. It's pantsers?
Plotters. I'm kind of a little bit combined. Because there are those things you plot it. For a historical fiction writer, half of your timeline's already written, because if you're following the history accurately, your timeline's there. You weave your story in and out of the timeline. But sometimes if you get these ideas, how do you weave your characters into these ideas? You can plot it out, and all of a sudden your character will take you somewhere else. And it's like, how did we get here? How did you know that? How come I didn't know that? And then you have to go find, how did they get there? Because they went off on their own tangent. But sometimes they call it instinctive, because it's a little bit of both. I'm not one or the other. I think I'm a combination.
I just find that so fascinating, because that is not anything I can comprehend and do myself. So I notice as we're talking here and your hands are moving, you have a really interesting ring on your finger. Can you tell us about that?
The ring. So in the early 1990s, I was the head coach's secretary, and I worked for the offensive assistant coaches for the San Diego Chargers.
So that is the assistant to the head coach?
Yes, of the San Diego Chargers.
Of the San Diego Chargers.
The
Super Bowl winning?
Yes.
Right,
yep.
Winning?
No, we didn't win the Super Bowl.
Sorry.
No, we were the AFC champions.
Yes. Chargers.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, we got
Otherwise, you'd have the Super Bowl ring.
Yes, we got the snot knocked out of us in the Super Bowl. But that's what this is. It's an AFC Conference Championship from 1994.
Awesome.
Yes.
And then, you thought you were done with that, and then all of a sudden you're at the Washington Redskins, the then Washington
Redskins.
And she was the Secretary of Defense.
And special teams. Don't forget those specialists. They're very special.
Yeah.
So, yes.
What an amazing opportunity. And, I was chatting with you earlier, and you said you worked a lot of hours, and you're like, and that was in the off season.
Yeah. Tons of hours. Now I have a regular full-time job, and then I come home and do my writing, and it's like, how did you ever work all those hours in football when you're this tired trying to do everything else?
Yeah. So how did you get into the football world? I can't remember if we talked about that.
I was a stat girl in high school, and that head coach talked to my junior college head coach, and that's where I had my scholarship. And he said, "Oh, your stat girl, she's good and she can do a good job." And then that coach recommended me to the major college coach, and there I met scouts and coaches who would come look at our players. And some of them remembered me, and that's how I got into the NFL.
Wow. And then I liked your story from going to the Chargers to the Redskins, and it was about people who knew you.
Yeah.
And
it was. Yeah. So sometimes
you must have
the
been
connections.
doing something right.
And they were happy with my work. They knew I did a good job, and quality was very highly appreciated.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to see what comes down the line for you, and excited to see that new book come out. And I appreciate you talking with
me
problem. And sharing your story and your
journey. Do you
want
to know my favorite place?
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
She's leading the interview now.
I read my questions ahead of time. That's the research part. No, I've been to Ireland 5 times, and one day I would love to set a story there because Ireland is amazing. I've been to Scotland and I've been to England, and so my current favorite right now would be Bath, and that's where part of the new project is set, is in Bath, England.
And so what is it about Bath? Like, what makes it interesting or wanting to set a story there? I know nothing about England.
It is, some of the architecture there is very interesting, that Palladian architecture, how old it all is, the Roman baths. I mean, you can get into really the long, long ago history from when Rome settled there and had their outposts. I'm not entirely sure what grabbed my attention about it, but my friend Julie and the tour guide, and they were like, "You took more notes in Bath than you took anywhere else. What are you going to do with all of that?" I said, "I don't know. Storing it up for a rainy day."
Yeah. So you're talking about Julie Clausen and her tour that Julie Clausen has done.
We went in 2017, and then we went again in 2019 to England both of those times. And in 2016, I went with Liz Curtis Higgs to Scotland.
Wow.
So, as a reader. And so now I'm going to try to be a writer again.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited for you and your journey, and
thank you.
Appreciate you being on the show with
Thank
us
you.
and sharing your love of writing and research and football.
And football. And football.
Right.
Football's in there.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.